This is the MBA Wire episode 15. Hey coffee lovers, did you know that apples are more effective at waking you up in the morning than coffee? I know, my whole world is upside down now.
Inspirational MBA talk with successful alumni to motivate you during your application run. We go behind the scenes of every story, talk business, and show you why it's worthwhile to never give up on your MBA dream. And now, here's your host with the most, Mateo Chang.
What's up, citizens of the Wire? Welcome back to yet another episode of the MBA Wire. Thank you so much for being here. Just wanted to let you guys know how grateful I am for tuning in and listening to this podcast on a weekly basis. I have seen my statistics, and some of you are listening to each and every one of them. Thank you so much for that. Now, this week, I need to ask you for a little bit of patience on my part because I have been suffering from a cold the last 3-4 days. So my voice may sound a little bit raspy and on the nasal side. So bear with me here as I try to explain to you guys part 2 of how to improve your essays. Last week, we saw a couple of the schools, and this week we will see a few more, including Harvard, Columbia, MIT, Wharton, Stanford, and NYU Stern. Same concept as last week. If one of these schools correspond to the school that you're applying to, go ahead and get those questions out and just take a few notes. Like I said before, I'm very general with the tips, but you can dig deeper online. There's so much information out there. It's great. I just kind of want to give you guys an idea on how to approach each essay question. All right, let's jump into Harvard Business School. Now, Harvard, they're following up with the same concept as last year. It's a very open-ended question, just one question and no word limit. Yeah, it's tough. Some people get kind of confused here with the no word limit, and they have a difficult time trying to figure out how much they should write. You should try to target around 1,000 words and less. More than that, it may be way too much. There have been some successful candidates last year who wrote between 800 to 1,300 essays with those word counts. So, it really depends on you, and it depends on, the message that you are trying to convey. Now, let's take a look at the question, Essay 1. You're applying to Harvard Business School. We can see your resume, school transcripts, extracurricular activities, awards, post-MBA career goals, test scores, and what your recommenders have to say about you. What else would you like us to know as we consider your candidacy? All right, good question. A little bit difficult, very open-ended. Many students have difficulties in trying to figure out how to jump on this essay. So this is your chance to basically provide your candidacy, your application, and present it to the committee, to the admissions committee, in the exact way that you want to. This gives you the chance to write the way you want to write. And it gives you the chance to tell the school what you think they should know about you. That's the important thing here. You need to write what you think that Harvard needs to know about you, right? What really makes you that candidate who is worthy and deserving of this spot, of this position in the coming class. Now, if you think about it, your CV, your resume, it only gives you a brief glimpse of who you are in a personal matter, in a personal sense. It's more professional, it's very superficial in that sense. You want to try to provide and show the information like in between the lines. What's missing there? What do you think is key to your application? It's not necessarily just your accomplishments, but the transitions, the reasons behind it, key moments, experiences, some of the people in your life that are core to who you are and what you can bring to the table. You want to try to show why you've made some of the choices that you made in your life and in your professional career, and also how you conducted yourself in those moments. You want to reveal your personality and be able to stand out as a person, as an individual, just, not just by talking about your accomplishments, but also by showing your thought process, the reasoning behind it, the values that you live by. You've lived through an interesting life that your classmates will like, and the diversity you can bring into the class to allow for some amazing discussions. Okay. The word count. I know I said try to target 1,000 words and under. Some people may go to like the 1,300 word count essay or more, but that depends on your own, good sense, your own sense, common sense there. What can you show yourself in a limited amount of words, or do you have to really write a bunch of this stuff? I mean, no matter how amazing it may seem, you need to be able to show a little bit of restraint, and you have to be able to choose that you can't share everything. You have to be able to choose wisely and not fall into the trap of writing too much, blabbering. Okay, that actually shows you don't have like self-awareness and the ability to specify the key points in your path. Now, if you really think about it, HBS, they work strictly on the case method throughout their course. So that's, in the same sense, you will be expected to show and identify the most important key features of any given situation or project, and then also be able to discuss them in a very clear and assertive way in a class setting. So if you take that concept, the HBS concept, and you put it into your essays, you have to be able to show the same thing when you are limiting yourself, okay, limiting your words, choosing your stories correctly in order to show them a very clear and complete central theme. Now, there is also a post-interview reflection I'm going to talk about briefly here. It's a conditional for students who are, after they're interviewed, they ask you, following the interview, candidates are required to submit a written reflection using our online application system. This must be submitted within 24 hours following the completion of the interview. Detailed instructions will be provided to those applicants who are invited to the interview process. So you've been accepted into the interview, you finished the interview. After it, you will need to write a final written reflection and send it to the committee within 24 hours of your interview. The question here, how well did we get to know you, is basically what they are trying to look for. You can't get to this. Don't try to approach this like a formal essay. Rather, think of it more of a reflection. It's like, in a sense, as an email, like you would write to a colleague or a supervisor. Talk about new and different things of your profile, the features of your profile. Be able to, include a story of a key life experience or a career experience, leadership, teamwork experience into your essay, but then also have that connect to something that happened during the interview. So here's the thing: while you're being interviewed, you want to pay attention to the stories and the answers that you've given out during that interview, so that you can make a connection between some of the topics in the post-interview reflection. You do not want to be very, just listing off things here. You need to make connections between each one of your accomplishments or, added features or weaknesses that you addressed. Okay, tie them to your background and your profile. Simply stating, I think Harvard Business School after visiting is beautiful. That's very, generic. It won't make you stand out. There needs to be a very deeper sense here to allow for a greater impression of who you are to the admissions committee. Just by simply stating a summary of everything the committee already knows is also not going to help you, okay? So definitely take advantage of this post-interview reflection and make the ties between the concepts, the things that you guys talked about during the interview with some added information about you that would give HBS a more complete picture of who you are. All right, let's go to Columbia. Now, Columbia, they've updated their essay questions, but they continue consistent with last year. So you will have a new video about Columbia and New York City as one of the defining features here. They really focus on your fit and how much you know of their program. Okay, Columbia is tough. Before you get started, you really need to get your career objectives, your strengths and weaknesses, everything down pat. Not only that, you also need to have done a lot of school research. Now you start off with a short answer question. What is your immediate post-MBA professional goal? It's about 75 characters maximum. It's basically a one clear vision, like one clear business statement. Your pitch. Think about it as an elevator pitch, but you only have 75 characters. It's one sentence. And don't just say something like, I plan to work in venture capital after Columbia, or I plan to work in finance. Very generic. No. You need to be able to state exactly what you want to be doing. Okay? Definitely go into detail here and keep it very short. You want to cause an impact. Think about it. This is the very first question they will see. This is kind of like the first impression that they'll have. And everything you say in these 75 characters will be very important for the rest of you, the way the person reading your application will perceive you. Essay question number 1, giving your individual background and goals. Why are you pursuing a Columbia MBA at this time? Now, this essay has 2 facets here. You need to be able to show why you're interested in Columbia, but then also you need to show how or why you are a very excellent candidate for the program. These both need to be kept in mind while you're answering this. So when you talk about future career goals, you need to add the credibility by describing how you will approach your goals. It's not just about having goals. Goals can be changed. Your short-term, your mid-term, your long-term goals, they can be changed with time. We cannot see the future, so there's no specific way of saying, I will make it here, and that's it. They won't call you 5 years later and ask you if you've reached your goals that you the goals that you stated in your application. It's not that. They want to see what strategies you will take to achieve these goals. This question is actually very, very open and allows you to describe details about your background. If you have a very unique aspect, then this is the place to talk about it. But it's more of trying to convince someone who's very, skeptical about your career path and where you want to go. So here you're trying to convince them of exactly why Columbia, how is that going to help you, and how are you going to fit with Columbia. You need to make that tie very clear, but it's not just about stating your future goals. It's about showing them how you plan to do it if your future goals are feasible, and it's about convincing them that Columbia is the only place that you can obtain the skills that you need to achieve your goals. And it's easy to say Columbia is the best place. That's not the point. You need to show why. Essay 2. Please view the video, The Center. How will you take advantage of being at the very center of business? Maximum of 250 words. You will watch the video. They give you some clues and some selling points about Columbia and New York. Things such as research, leading edge research, access to top companies, to industries in all over New York City. Yes, New York is a financial hub. It is the center of business. Now, when you approach this question, you have to be able to know some specific things that New York will impact you on personally and professionally. It's not just saying something like, I once visited to New York and I just fell in love with it. Very generic. Don't write it like that. No. There has to be something even deeper. Specific interests. What companies are there that you really need to get in touch with? Who from those companies would you really like to get to work with? What are the opportunities that such a metropolis can provide you with, both personally and professionally? And what I mean personally is, are there any hobbies or community services that you're in search for? And what are they? Do they have it? You want to mix them up, and they both need to be covered in this topic, but you also need to be able to be very specific on how New York City, the center of business, can help you, both on a personal and on a professional level. It's not just saying, I fell in love with New York. 70% of the people who go to New York fall in love with New York. New York is amazing. It's beautiful. Yeah, Columbia, they know that. Columbia knows that. How do you know that? What do you know about it? Okay, what is specifically the thing you love most? And how will New York being at the center of business affect you? Essay number 3, what will people in your cluster be pleasantly surprised to learn about you? It's about maximum 250 words. Now, if you didn't cover anything personal in the first 2 essays, this is where you need to add some personal things. It's not about being generic. They're not saying, people will be surprised that I learned to play the guitar with my toes. All right. Very generic. It's not about that. It's not just accomplishment. Remember what I said in it's not just accomplishments. It's not listing the things you've done. It's being able to explain how, explain the process, the reasoning. I learned to play the guitar with my toes because there was a time when I had saved a kitten from getting run over, and I ended up breaking both arms. I don't know. I'm trying to give you guys a little bit more of a specific example here, and I had, it was very difficult. I had a very hard time, but through persistence, through determination and focus, I was able to learn slowly but surely how to play a guitar with my toes. And that is a very unique story, but it's not just being about unique, it's about being able to explain how that was unique. Okay. MIT Sloan. Now, the philosophy behind the Sloan is that past behavior is a reliable predictor of future behavior. And also, you need to understand that at MIT, people eat, breathe, and sleep on knowledge. It's all about searching for those people who will thrive on such an amazing amount of knowledge on a daily basis. Okay. Essay 1, the mission of the MIT Sloan School of Management is to develop principled, innovative leaders who improve the world and generate ideas that advance management practice. Discuss how you will contribute toward advancing the mission based on examples of past work and activities. 500 words or fewer, limited to only 1 page. Okay, now here's your chance to demonstrate your potential, not only just to absorb everything, all the knowledge that MIT has for you, but to also advance their mission. Look, they start off the question talking about their mission. So by pulling in your professional past and your goals in the future and the contributions you will make in the community, how will all of that advance MIT Sloan's mission? They are not asking for, your goals or your reasons for choosing MIT. It's not about why MIT. It's about how MIT and how will MIT benefit from what you have to provide. Yes, you want to improve the world or have advanced management practices. That's part of it, but the primary focus should be related to some of your some examples of your past achievements and future contributions to the program. Okay, this is a very mission-oriented question, and if you can show like your best moments in terms of like professional or personal hits, successes, then you want to be able to explain how that will cause an impact to the other amazing professionals that you will meet at MIT. All of this encompasses like the professional or the personal or even community. Okay, you need to be able to provide a clear narrative though here, and be able to state a couple, maybe two would be a great way to start, but you may be able to put in 3 examples as long as you have that connection on how you will help the mission of MIT Sloan. Essay 2, write a professional letter of recommendation on behalf of yourself. Answer the following questions as if you were your most recent supervisor recommending yourself for admission to the MIT Sloan MBA program, 750 words or fewer. This is a tricky one. This one is actually pretty cool because up until now, a lot of the schools frowned upon the applicants, the candidates who wrote their own recommendation letters. Now MIT is coming at you saying you need to write a recommendation letter for yourself. This is a toughie. Okay, this is a very, very difficult exercise in self-reflection and also writing in a different perspective. Okay, it's not just about being able to talk good about yourself, but you need to be critical. It's not just about saying like, oh, hey, let's take Mateo for example. Oh, Mateo has strong analytical abilities. He's a natural born leader, and he's a very determined professional. Okay, that's not it. You're writing a recommendation, so you need to be able to be critical with everything, provide examples for each of the strengths, and notice that there are a couple questions here they want to know from you that they list out. The toughest one is, which of the applicant's personal or professional characteristics would you change? How do you address that? What would you change about yourself? And it's not by lying here that you're going to do well on this essay question. You really need to reflect on what you would change in yourself, and not just what, but why. Why would you change that, and how will that benefit the community, the world? How will that impact the world, this change? Okay, now you may feel a little bit wary of writing about a weakness or something, or a gap that you need to address, but that's not the question here. They're checking your ability to reflect on your own self, have a self-awareness, and be able to be self-critical about certain things. They want to see how well you know yourself. Be sure you provide examples of each of your actions or choices. All right, let's talk Wharton. Now, Wharton is a school they are known for their analytical rigor, but they are a school that is very team-oriented. So many students have this misconception of Wharton being a very individually competitive school, but in reality, they're very collaborative. So showing how well you work in teams during the essays and in your interview will be key for your success at Wharton. Let's look at essay 1. What do you hope to gain both personally and professionally from the Wharton MBA? It's about 500 words is what they ask of you. Now this essay is checking your personal and your professional goals. Not just that, but how Wharton will fit in helping you achieve them, what kind of skill sets that they can give you in order for you to get your professional and personal objectives. So they want to see how they fit as a bridge here. Okay, the best way to do this is to kind of work backwards and try to think of the things you want to first accomplish, and then try to match that and make that connection with the Wharton culture and its values. Now, fit in this essay is very, very important. So you need to be able to show how you will contribute to the community, both in and out of the classroom. Also, how, what characteristics, what features of you personally fit in with the Wharton culture. They had a specific question about their culture in the past, but they took it out. It appears that they've included it in this question. So it's not necessary. And because of the wording, you're only allowed 500 words. You really need to do your research and understand how your personal goals rely on the Wharton MBA and how you personally fit with the MBA, with the Wharton MBA culture. So be sure to have some specific key things, clubs and activities and leadership development opportunities. How will those address some of your gaps or strengthen some of your features, your strengths, and also be able to pull that in, provide a compelling essay on how well you fit and why you belong at Wharton. Wharton also has an optional essay where they ask you to use the space below to highlight any additional information that you would like the admissions committee to know about your candidacy. It's a 400-word essay. You need to be able to make a judgment here. It's an optional essay. Yes, you can. You can also forego it. But don't submit something just for the sake of it. Okay, you're not wasting their time here. You want to be able to add a more complete picture to your application. So if your first essay was putting the pieces of the puzzles together, this optional essay would be the frame. And if it's not a frame that's going to greatly enhance the story that you've told in the first essay, then you really need to think twice about it. Or you can also address certain concerns or gaps in your application, maybe a low GMAT or a low school GPA, and even gaps in your career, and be able to explain yourself here and show them that maybe the circumstances were not in your favor. But sure, those kind of things happen in our lives all the time. You need to be able to show how you overcame these gaps, or how you plan to overcome them through the Wharton MBA. That was a short one, but now let's go to Stanford. Stanford, they have two essays, essay A and B. Essay A asks, what matters most to you and why? Here it's very important that you focus on the why rather than the what. Okay, the what is more of an introduction here. You need to be able to explain the why. And in order to do that, in order to illustrate who you are and how you turned out to be the person you are today, you need to be able to share your insights, your experiences, lessons that you've learned, and moments or situations that shaped your reasoning. There's a lot of self-reflection involved in this question. And you have to be able to write this from the heart. It's not just thinking about it. You really have to think, you really have to sit down, quiet yourself and come up with illustrating on who you are and what you want Stanford to know about you, what really matters to you. So you need to be able to include values, experiences, your lessons, and even influence, what kind of things have you done that influenced other people, and how have you been influenced in those processes? How have your experiences shaped you? How have they changed you? How did they make you who you are? And being able to show the before and the after of each of your stories, that's where you reveal yourself within that scope. Essay B, why Stanford? And this is the same thing. Why you need to go and research Stanford and understand why Stanford. So many people have this whole misconception of I want the brand name. Yes, Stanford is a fantastic brand name, but it's not just that. They don't want to be known for their brand names. The schools don't want to be known for their brand names. They want to be known for the accomplishments of their students in the future. focus on the future. Focus on your goals. Not necessarily your career path that took you to Stanford, but where you want to go after it. Being able to show your future goals here in why Stanford and how Stanford plays a key role in your aspirations, in your objectives, that is the most important aspect of this question. It's not about the past. The question here you need to answer is, what are the unique features that Stanford has that will help you in your future? It's not just about, oh, this club or this class or this professor is going to drastically change my life. And you need to go deeper than that. It needs to be more individual, more personal, and heartfelt. Okay, it has to come from the heart. Finally, NYU Stern. Now, they've made a few changes from last year, but now you only have 2 essay questions, and you need to be able to you can choose between option A or option B in the second one. The total word count is from 750 to 1250, and it depends on what you choose. So let's look at essay 1. Essay 1 is going to focus on your professional aspirations. So around a 750 word maximum word count limit, and it's a 3-part question. A, why pursue an MBA at this point in your life? B, what actions have you taken to determine that Stern is the best fit for your MBA experience? And C, what do you see yourself doing professionally upon graduation? You need to be able to simplify and bring it down, because this is a lot of writing for just 750 words. You're averaging about 250 per section of the question. Okay, let's take a look at A, why pursue an MBA? Well, this is basically a straightforward question, but you need to be able to specify why you want this at this point in your life. What is it about now, today, that you need an MBA? So here you want to be able to focus on your future goals and the aspects that you want to address, whether they be gaps or strengths, and how does NYU Stern fit here. You want to be able to kind of transition over into B by showing them a clear picture of how NYU Stern is the bridge for you to achieve your future goals and why that is. Once you've transitioned over into B, what actions have you taken to determine that Stern is the best fit? Look, the actions that they're talking about here, everything you've researched on, having visited the school, it's not just about that. Again, you have to be able to pull out the specific reasons, the specific features that Stern has that's only unique to Stern. Okay, or maybe even other schools provide, but not as well as Stern, and why you need that, what you want to get out of that. And it's not just about talking about a club, talking about a class or a professor, or even talking about some of the New York City's virtues. It's not as simple as that. It takes another great amount of self-reflection to be able to come out and really be specific in these answers. In essay 2, you can actually choose between option A or option B. Option A is addressing your 2 paths, and option B, they are actually checking more of your personal expression. Let's take a look at option A here. Their mission is to develop people that will change society, that will change the community, that will change the business. They want to see how well you can think creatively and how broad of a perspective you have on providing this impact. So they have a few key things here, like A, describe 2 different and distinct paths you could see your career taking long term. How do you see your 2 paths unfolding? B, what factors will most determine which path you take? And C, how do your paths tie to the mission of NYU Stern? This option has a 500 word maximum. So you have to take a look again at your future goals, but more in the long term in this question. It's more of a explaining and drawing out your marathon business plan. You have to be able to show that you have a plan B, you have a contingency plan here, being able to show two different paths you would take and how both of these paths are tied with the mission of NYU Stern. How do they correlate? Okay, what are the key factors here? You have this first route, your first option, and then you have an alternate route. How can both of them be addressed through NYU Stern? And this is a tricky question. I mean, it's not an easy one to answer. But again, if there is a repeating theme here for any of the schools that you are applying to, you have to be able to show specifics. Be straightforward, be clear, be assertive, but also include details and examples. It's not just about saying, hey, I want to become CEO of a huge corporation, and from there I'm going to impact the community through amazing initiatives. It's so generic. We need to be more specific on what your goals are, how you plan to achieve them, how feasible they are, and then how NYU Stern ties into those. Should you go with option B, it's a personal expression one, you need to be able to describe yourself to your MBA classmates. So here we can get a little creative. Okay, this is where you can kind of show yourself and be able to show some specific personal aspects, some things that your classmates will really enjoy, what kind of diversity that you'll be able to bring. And this is a very open-ended question, so you can be creative. Okay, you don't need to be afraid about writing between the lines. You want to show, if there is a unique personality trait, you want to be able to show that and be able to think about what you want to say. What is it that you want to communicate before you send your message out here in this question, in this option. Now, it's very tricky to try to balance it, but to try to provide the impact that they're looking for. So I would suggest if you do go with the option B, personal expression, then you have to dig deep and think about some unique things about yourself to be able to provide, which is also, again, not easy. But don't be afraid to take risks. Do be creative. Something that will stand out is not, if you play it safe, then, it may come out as dull and you lose out on creativity. They want to check your individuality in this question. Who are you as an individual? How do you express yourself? And what are the key things in your past that caused you to be who you are today? All right? Well, folks, I know today was a little bit shorter than last week's. I had to fly through these schools, mainly just to kind of give you a general feel for each question. But if you notice, there is a pattern here. All the schools want to know the unique specifics of why an MBA, why now, and why that specific school. And these are very key, important features you need to be able to answer as well during the interview, and not just in the essays. So go back to my episode, go back to part 1, last week's episode, where I talked to you about some key tips before you start writing your essay, what you need to reflect on, what kind of things you should list, your accomplishments, your strengths, your weaknesses, and especially your future goals. How well do they all tie around the specific school you are applying to? Being able to convey this clearly and assertively, you will do a great job on the application essays. All right. I really want to thank you guys for bearing with me here today with my voice as raspy and nasally as it is. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Go ahead and just hit my website. There is an email there. You can send me an email. Otherwise, I really hope that some of this has helped you. And tune in next week because I have a fantastic interviewee ready for you guys. This guy is amazing, and I hope to see you then. This is Mateo Chang from the MBA Wire signing off. Catch you guys next week.
Thanks for tuning into the MBA Wire. Would you like to know more? Visit us online at thembawire.com today and leave your questions and feedback. While you're there, sign up for an exclusive free audio series to help you strengthen your MBA interview. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the MBA Wire.